Hello, welcome to another great episode of Royal, Black, and Elite. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, your lecturer and social historian. Hello, subbies. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule and learning about someone new today. As well as if this is your first time, thanks for joining me. I'm so glad you joined in. You all don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I tell you how much it helps it move through the algorithm. I really appreciate your support. Listening to the history of, these people are not really well known. They're not talked about in school. They're not talked about in Black history lectures. And I love bringing these type of people to you. And today we're going to meet Dr. Mildred Fay Jefferson. She was the first African-American woman to graduate from the Harvard School of Medicine. Now, Mildred was born in Texas, my home state, in a city called Pittsburgh. Who knew there was a city called Pittsburgh in Texas? Now, she was raised in a city, however, called Carthage. That's what's also in Texas. And from a little girl, she wanted to be a doctor. They called her Millie when she was growing up. And so Millie would follow the town doctor around on his horse drawn buggy, and he would go from house to house on his house call. And she said later on that inspired her to become a doctor. And that she did. Now, she graduated with a bachelor's degree, and she graduated summa cum laude with her bachelor's degree from Texas College. And then from there, she went to Tufts University and she received her master's degree in biology. From there, she attended Harvard Medical School, graduating in 1951, becoming the first Black woman to graduate from Harvard Medical School. Now, Mildred Fay was the first African woman not only to graduate from there, but she was also the first African American woman to also teach and become a surgeon at Boston University Medical Center. So she's a lot of firsts. She became board certified as a doctor in 1972. Now, prior to 1972, she was married. Jefferson married in 1963. Her husband's name was Shane Cunningham. But they didn't last. They did meet on a skiing trip though, and he was a real estate manager. So, they were together, but by 1976 they were divorced and they never had any children. And she never remarried and she never had any children. She did find children, however, to be a very pivotal and vital part of her life. You see, Dr. Jefferson became one of the most prominent voices in the right to life movement. That was her thing. She went to college and she said the thing that was important to her is that she was dedicated to the Hippocratic Oath, that she should not hurt anybody. And during that time, a big push was occurring in the Black community around eliminating pregnancies. There were organizations popping up, in particular during that time. Planned Parenthood was real big back in the 70s, and they were setting up clinics in Black neighborhoods. Now, prior to that, it wasn't something that Black people really looked toward because they were married a lot of times and they had an intact family. But when the 70s came along, there was an influx, allegedly, of drugs coming from the government into the Black community that led to a lot of families breaking up. And then a lot of Black men went to prison, which also led to a lot of families breaking up. So casual relationships and then not protecting oneself would lead to pregnancy. And sometimes those pregnancies in those women's eyes was problematic. And so there was a big move toward them eliminating them. However, she came from the old school. Her daddy was a preacher. She was a believer and she wasn't having it. That's why I call her the first Candace Owens, because she used her voice in the conservative movement. She was one of the first Black women of her type during that time, because before, Blacks had always been Republican. So the Blacks had moved their vote to the Democrats, and those things that were important to that body at that time were things like feminism and, all kinds of things. And if you were a believer, some of those things didn't align, and those things didn't align for her. Now, I don't want to make this video anything political, so I don't want you to turn it off because she's a conservative. The fact of the matter is, the woman was highly educated. She was a surgeon and she saved many lives. She was board certified in 1972. And as mentioned before, she was not only a doctor, but also a professor of medicine. So she was a very esteemed woman, and she became active in the conservative movement. And again, I call her the first Candace Owens, on the stage of the Value of Life Committee, and then from in 1970, and then from leaving there in 1972, she moved on to the Massachusetts Citizens for Life, and a lot of their fights, were with these clinics that were in these Black neighborhoods, as well as with legislation to try to protect the rights of children who were unborn. So she also founded the National Right to Life Committee. It is, even today, one of the largest committees that work in order for right to life. And that was founded in she was the chairman and she was elected in 1973. So she had been extremely active in the right to life movement. She was a conservative, and so she did do that. And she believed in the Hippocratic Oath that children should not be hurt. But, oh, one other organization too. She also was a member of the Black Americans for Life. So there's a pro-life organization called the Black Americans for Life. If there are any pro-lifers out there, again, this is not about politics. I think we should be able to talk about both sides of these issues and not be so in a silo that we can't talk about those issues or even celebrate a woman who has been accomplished on this level. I celebrate her. I hope you're enjoying the lecture. And so let's kind of conclude on her life. I hope that you enjoyed it. In 1975, Jefferson kind of got into some, a little bit of trouble because she was very staunchly, very, very staunchly Republican. So she actually testified against a doctor who had performed a ending, and he was tried for manslaughter in 1975. So that kind of got her, people upset. But she always said she was on both sides. So if there were issues that aligned on one political side, she would align with that. And if there were issues that aligned with other things she believed, she aligned with that. And we see this nonpartisanship in 1976 when she helped Ellen McCormick run for Democratic nomination for president. So she was very much so a woman's woman. I mean, she had been divorced. Was educated, so she was a feminist herself. But she just was staunchly did not believe that children should be unalived before they were born, and she fought against it. Now, she did run for Congress 3 times, but she was never elected. And I do believe it is because of some of her really conservative views. She had strong opinions when it came to topics like unaliving. She would do speeches, she would do rallies, she would do meetings at all these different organizations. And that's why I say she was the first Candace Owens. However, no matter what you thought about her ideas on this issue, she was bold, and she was not afraid to stand on the stage and speak her view. And as a believer, you cannot be afraid to voice your views on how you feel on different issues. And as Blacks, we have again got so siloed that we don't often talk about these things. So I'm so glad to be able to talk about this now in recognition of her life. Again, getting back to who she was as a doctor, who she was as a professor. She has received 28 honorary degrees from universities and colleges. That is the prestigious career of Dr. Mildred Jefferson. Had you ever heard of her and any of her activism? I'm glad that you have joined me today. Like I said, like to bring you people that we don't normally talk about. I think we have to open ourselves up to other people so that we can know who, what, when, and where throughout history. And I'm very honored that you lasted to the end of the video. And if you did, I want to say thank you so much. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And if you want to be a member and do the trivia, get my newest videos early as well as my deep dives, definitely consider becoming a member. I would definitely love to have you. You know, I'm new at this YouTube thing, but bringing these Black history stories have truly opened up so much, and I've met so many awesome and wonderful people as a result of it. So I thank you for joining me, and thank you for celebrating Women's History Month with me. And I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Thanks for watching.